Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Bitcoin Law Review with your host, Tone Vase. This is going to be one amazing show. I don't want to waste any time talking about any background info. We're bringing in our guests right now. Let's do a very quick intro. Manny, what's new in your world, man? And go for it.
Hey, great. Thanks so much, Tone. Hey, everyone. I'm Manny Alejandro. I'm an attorney in private practice in New York, and I focus on capital markets and blockchain technology. So a lot going on in the space. Trying to keep up with the frenetic pace of all the changes that are out there. And I'm excited about joining the show today. And thanks so much for having me, Tone. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. Bill, what's up in your world?
Oh, there's so many things, and yet nothing at the same time that's interesting to you guys. Bill Restis Law Firm in San Diego. I specialize in the intersection of the blockchain and securities law.
Sasha, let's head over to you.
Hi, thanks, Tone. Sasha Hodder with DLT Law Group. This past week, it seems like a lot of companies asking for that letter to get on the exchanges saying that they're not a security. So coming across, a lot of issues around if they've done an ICO, can they become sufficiently decentralized to be listed on one of our, typical exchanges that aren't registered as a national securities exchange. So really exploring that issue.
All right, very cool. And finally, Jason, tell us what's up. We got a nice Texas flag in the background. You got a guitar, and what is that machine next to you?
It's just a 3D printer, Tone. And normally, was a data engineer. I'm way out of practice now. Became a lawyer, as a lot of you know, and focused on securities law. And around 2009, my data world and my law world merged, and I was doing basically Bitcoin and securities law, and have been for quite a while. But today, near and dear to my heart, is the Second Amendment. And there's been a lot of talk about 3D printing in the Second Amendment. And so today I'm running a little bit of an experiment with my...
Oh, did we lose him? Did we just get cut off? Anybody else on?
Oh, well, no, I'm here. It just says...
your internet froze there for a second. Just as you were about to say what you were printing, it got frozen.
Sorry about that. I maybe it's the government intervening. I don't know. But today I am focusing on the Second Amendment and technology. And here, right in my own home, I am printing something that may or may not be controversial and related to the Second Amendment.
All right. Speaking of which, I just got back from Chicago. Got some awesome new clothes everyone always wanted. Give you more info on these things later. Let's go right into our first story. And this might explain what Jason is doing with his 3D printer. I'm going to go ahead and play this video that just came out and is already slowly going viral.
The website of the company they did this agreement with specifically says their goal in the Second Amendment is to expand it.
And we sued them to stop them from publishing codes online.
Here's the thing: a lot of those specs are already online.
Yeah, but you can make it illegal to possess them, and we wouldn't know about it. Already, the damage has been done. But it may already be too late to stop this.
And as far as I'm concerned, federal officials should be showing up to that building right now.
I placed the design files for the AR-15 into the public domain. July 27th, 2018. Gone. I committed these files to the Commons under a license from the U.S. Department of State. Now 21 states would sue me across this country. So eager to kill your Second Amendment that they would take the first. Rifle in this fight is yours. It's time to muster. I'm going to make them kill your internet. These states. They can only see ghosts. You don't get to escape me. You
don't get to vote me out. I guess at last it comes down to what this is. Who am I? What are we? We call ourselves defense distributors. We're a defense contractor. We don't contract with the state. We contract with the public. So I'd like to come to terms. If you will fund this fight for me, I will offer 2 new contracts to you. Your support is tax deductible. Bitcoin.com is offered to match funds 1-to-1. By Monday would take your birthright. Shall I give it to you? I went to Vanderbilt's funeral. I didn't see you. Show me you're there. The unlimited power of the sword is in the hands of the people. This is a hard sign to live under. And you come to know it.
All right, guys. So that was the video. I'm gonna end. Actually, I'm gonna exit this. And there was also an article.
Intense, Tone. That was intense.
Yeah, there was also an article in the Washington Times talking about the challenges of regulating 3D printer guns. All of these links are in this video's description. And actually, I'm gonna end screen share right here. And before we talk about it, I want to bring on a special guest just for this episode. So Cody, are you with us?
Hey, Tone, can you see me?
Yep, there he is. So we were able to get Cody Wilson. Hey, thanks for jumping on last minute. I want to put you on the big screen and ask you first. During that video, when I was playing it right before we started, there was like it muted itself for like a few seconds. And there was this, you know, the blur out rectangle right in the middle of it. What's that all about?
Yeah, over the weekend, the New Jersey and Pennsylvania, who were states suing me in these actions, threatened me basically with contempt for basically telling other people to host the files and to help me out that way, because I'm under a court order to not host, or I guess tell other people to host the files. So it shows you like the problems of a regime like this, where you want to control guns so badly that not only do you have to control access to the data of the guns, you have to control people's speech about access to the data to the guns. The chain just goes on and on.
All right, I'm going to open the floor to our esteemed panel of lawyers here. Anything you guys want to ask Cody? Somebody?
I mean, I'm dying to jump in.
You're unmuted, guys.
I don't want to dominate the conversation. You know, Cody. First of all, what's your background? What's your education? Engineering, or I mean, you're out there providing engineering specs for printing guns. What qualifications do you have?
None, sir. No credentials or qualifications. Bring me teach. But I did teach myself a few things, and here we are. So we have a manufacturing company in Austin, Texas. Maybe I have no qualifications to have that company, but over the years we decided to do it. You know?
It's fine so long as you've got the experts that are working with you and you're relying on them. That's fine.
Don't know that we have them either, but we.
I don't know what you can and can't talk about based on the numerous court orders that you're up against, but. Can you talk about the modeling process of, let's just start with like the 380, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do 3D imaging, laser imaging of all of the parts taken apart, and then from there created the STL files, or how did that go?
It was very like crude. It was very trial and error, okay? Like anything really. So the primary question we had in the beginning was, what kind of ballistic chamber can you make in printed materials that can survive any type of commercial ammunition? And at first our thinking was maybe something like, 22 ammunition, or certain kinds of lower caliber shotgun shells. And
Right.
we were wrong. We were wrong about all that. And it just turns out that 380 and barrels of certain thicknesses, this was some of the first ammunition that worked in a printed barrel. So we just built the gun around the different first components that worked.
Nice. I'm digging through my desk right now because I'm fairly certain I have some sort of ammunition in here. Not to give away too much, but I am an avid gun owner.
Never admit it.
Right. Well, I'm prior service Air Force. Not that anybody in the Air Force ever shoots weapons, but I'm a big fan. One of the things that's always intrigued me about this type of solution is how it presents, regulatory challenges. Obviously, something like this, tiny guns that are undetectable in security, has to just frighten the ever-loving shit out of the government, right? TSA, airplanes, any kind of inspections. Have any of those arguments come up in these court orders against you?
Yeah, like we just got a court order like 15 minutes ago. I know you guys haven't had a chance to review it. This is a preliminary injunction in the state of Washington. And that's what the judge, look, my settlement with the State Department and the standing of these states, like it prevents them from getting this relief, but he issues the relief anyway. And in his order, he says the State Department didn't consider the unique threat of printed guns for the reasons that you cited, though that they seem to present some type of unique security risk or something. Of course, an actual constitutional reading of things is that Congress has had many opportunities to address this threat, and so has the executive, and they've declined. They've passed certain laws, like in the 80s, it says, it's illegal for you to have an all plastic gun. So all of this has been addressed, but the concern is enough to get any type of Ninth Circuit judge to create manifest injustice.
So you said in the state of Washington and Ninth Circuit. So is that federal court in Washington, or was that a state court judge in Washington?
That's right. That's a federal judge there. The states have come in asking for relief against the decision of the president, in a settlement with me made at the end of July. So they come in representing their quote unquote sovereign interests and pretend that allowing gun plans to be online, violates all state gun laws or something. And this is now my fight, apparently.
Oh, no, I'm curious, and this is Bill, Cody. I'm nice to meet you. I don't know really much about this. The first thing I want to say is, obviously anything that you say on this interview is people are going to try to use it against you. So choose your words very carefully. But I'm curious why you did this. Take us back to the beginning.
Did what? Printing guns and putting them online?
Yeah, printing guns and putting them online. What was the underlying purpose?
For me, it's like back in 2011, 2012, I was inspired by WikiLeaks, right? And before I had all this complex crypto anarchist, like discourse that I discovered, and helped me meet people like in Bitcoin and stuff. Before I knew about any of that, I just had this instinct that like WikiLeaks and internet projects like that were more important than traditional political process. Like no matter how much you might love the Second Amendment, there's no way that you were going to reasonably expand it. There was no way that you could have the hope of expanding it. Like in 2011, 2012, you could fight your whole life and run for Congress, do whatever you want, even try to become a Supreme Court justice. It doesn't mean that you had a chance of federally expanding it. But my insight was that the internet basically would allow a place for the complete translation of the American gun culture. Like to some degree, if you could download the 3D design files for any type of 20th century small arm, this was a guarantee. No matter what regime of law, no matter where in the world, you'd be able to at least begin to make a gun. This is uncensorable, So I began with that insight, and I simply completed a task of showing a downloadable and reproducible gun on one device.
Well, I think that's interesting because a lot of the constitutional issues that we're dealing with seem to be addressed by these network-centric solutions we have, whether it's blockchains or putting things on the internet. If you're looking for like protection of the Second Amendment, you can't do it with this hierarchical pyramid scheme that we have now. I mean, the flow of information comes from the top to the bottom. We're seeing that in the First Amendment issues that are coming up with the Google and Facebook and all of this. If you have a central point, then you can't protect these rights. And I think that it's really actually apropos to a lot of things that are going on in our culture right now with what you're trying to do.
Well, thanks. I discovered the word decentralized, when I began this project, and when I got invited to do some Bitcoin stuff in 2012. And my whole exposure to Bitcoin is because of this project, and because other payments processors were immediately no longer able to support me or willing to. And my entire, career in alternative politics is because of this stuff, and my life is immeasurably benefited because of it. And I'm happy to,
What do you think that the Second Amendment comes in to, protecting all of these other constitutional rights that we hopefully all hold so dear?
Are you asking me just like historically or structurally? Like, do I think it?
Like, why is it so important to you to get these? Because what everybody will say. They're like, this is the 21st century. They're coming after us with guided missiles, and what can a 3D printed plastic gun really do to protect liberty?
I don't know. Ask 20 states in the union, right? Who write briefs in the federal court saying my posting of this information inestimably degrades their sovereign power. Well, that sounds good to me. So okay, like it either is a threat to national security or it isn't, right? I mean, you can't have it in this quantum state where it's just nothing. Look, I'm making your enemy known. I'm calling their bluff. Okay, like these people don't want you to be able to have the capacity to download and make a firearm for yourself in any standard with any qualification, much less one that could be printed. Who cares? The point is, they don't think the internet is a place where this culture can proceed to. And I think that not only is it there, and not only will we continue to humiliate them, but like this is a demonstration of like their total lack of power in this moment historically. So
we're definitely in a moment historically where either we're going to have increased concentration of power and information, or it's going to go the other way. And I think that it's very important that we have people, because a decentralized future seems like a much better one to me than a completely centralized future.
Well, I agree. Go ahead.
There's two things that are that I'm kind of issue spotting here. Issue spotting is a thing that lawyers do, Cody. We hear what's going on, and then we try to figure out what different things are implicated. There's a couple of different things here that could potentially come into play. One, you're talking about political free speech, right? And that's kind of a powerful thing. Back in the 70s, it used to be illegal to tear up a draft card. And all of the lawyers that are on the panel, hopefully, that took constitutional law, studied the draft card tearing, and how that was determined to be a protected act, that the function, the actual action of tearing something was a politically protected speech statement. So the Supreme Court has already decided a long time ago that actions, the display of an action, can be protected under free speech. So as I'm sitting here right now, taking a physical action and doing something, I consider this to be protected as political free speech, right? That I'm making a political statement in doing this 3D printing thing, if I'm to draw that action and make that correlation back to the tearing of the draft card. Also, flag burning has, that action of burning a flag, protected free speech. We may not agree with it, but it is protected. So the thing that comes to mind is how the action and creation of a firearm protected under the Second Amendment can also be tied into political free speech, so that we have not only the Second Amendment, but the First Amendment political free speech protections put down on top of that. Is that something that you've been exploring? I haven't read any of the briefs, I haven't read any of the memorandums, but is that something that you've been looking at?
So for many years, like we've included Second Amendment claims in our actions, and look, this is important. Like if there is a right to keep and bear arms, there's a necessarily included right to make them, as you're describing. But really, like, we're not defining the files and the speech at issue as like speech acts. We're simply defining it as like the traditional Ninth Circuit analysis of just, does software have its own First Amendment protection? Isn't there like a speech interest in Americans receiving and publishing code? Isn't the code itself worthy, with its expressive qualities and stuff, of protection in itself? This is the more pure argument. So there's less of a Second Amendment argument than a first, because of course it's not disputed that you have the right to make a gun in these actions. it's not disputed that you have the right to manufacture a gun of any quality with any material. Everyone understands that you can. So that's not really like what's happening there on your printer is not what's under attack. What's under attack is the data, posting the data to the internet and allowing anyone to download.
Cody, isn't it too late for that you posted the data? It's out there. I can see it. So like it's all there. So why are they can't stop it at this point, or can they?
No, you're totally right. And of course I have a license from the federal government to speak. I actually have it with me. This is from the State Department. Woo!
Nice.
Anyway,
wait, Cody, bring that up one more time. I put you on the big screen.
This is a license from the US State Department. Anyway, it allows me to post the files, and I did. So not only did I post them 5 years ago, but I posted them again this year in July, and they're in the public domain, legally committed. And I get a judge like today in Washington who says, well, the states will suffer irreparable harm if I don't stop you. Well, Sasha, to your point, he didn't stop me. You can't stop me. It already happened. It's happened over and over again. It's recycled online all the time. There's no possible harm that they could suffer at this point because the harm has already happened.
Now, do you think this could open the door for future harm because now there's a spotlight on it? Like before it went under the radar, people could make guns at home and no one really knew about it. Now they could put future regulations so that it becomes harder or?
Sure. I think, of course, there's all types of opportunities for harms, but like future harms aren't the standard for injunctions in federal court. So now, again, I can't make a judge understand the law. So I'll just have to get kicked around the Ninth Circuit here. I'll probably have to go sue the State Department now for breach and all this other stuff because they've created this, manifestly unjust situation for me. But ultimately, we win this because the states don't even have the power to challenge the decisions of the State Department. They don't even have the standing to come into federal court. And I suppose they'll pay me for my trouble by the end.
And they already did, right? You got a settlement from the federal government for $45,000, was it, for your legal fees, or how?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was just a kind of nothing, but it shows you how exceptional it was because normally the State Department doesn't pay you for anything.
Yeah.
It's already a pretty exceptional thing.
Hey, it's Manny Alejandro. Thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate you taking the time. In terms of the overall matter, I think it's fascinating because you're kind of exposing the conflict that we face a lot of times with federal versus state, and clearly how the state actors have to deal with federal law, and I think you're seeing a lot of the kind of underpinnings of how that actually works in terms of states taking actions that either fall within federal law or might go beyond federal law. So appreciate again, you taking the time, and I'm sorry that you have to go through all of this. But at the end of the day, from a practical perspective, right? Do you think, and you don't need to answer this if you can, if these matters are in your purview of your litigation, but you think the issue is because your gun is plastic and can't be detected? I know there's some parts of your gun, maybe that's worth explaining how certain parts of your gun are metal that could be detected by metal detectors, because I think what I've seen in terms of the way, the guns that are printed or described is that they're entirely plastic. They could, potentially cause harm on society because they can't be detected. You're putting guns in the hands of, potentially minors. Do you have a license to make guns as well? I think that's important to kind of just get out there and clarify the record.
In the past, I've had manufacturer's license from the ATF to do this kind of work, but frankly, I don't accept the frame of the question. It's illegal under federal law to have a completely plastic gun. I've never made a completely plastic gun. Just that you could doesn't mean that the data related to my gun is somehow, I don't know, implicated or debarred from, American possession. It's not. There's no law that addresses this. And just because you can do something like with some information that might be illegal doesn't mean that restricts that information. We've gone through this. We've gone through this for years in this country. Like, I can publish secrets for how to make a nuclear weapon, right? I can publish plans for how to make plastic explosive. Sure, if you make plastic explosive and you possess it, that's illegal. These are separate questions, as we all understand. But everybody freaks out with this gun. And look, I'm not at this point, I'm used to it. But these states don't have claims. A state can't come into federal court and try to create a claim under the Gun Control Act. It doesn't work. It's not how it works. So how do they come into Washington with a bizarre APA claim about the State Department? it'll get sorted, but not anytime soon, because the Ninth Circuit is just a joke, and I'm gonna have to wait for maybe the Supreme Court to fix this, and it bores me, man. It takes my time.
One thing I thought was interesting while reading a lot of the like Fox articles or whatnot, if you replaced Bitcoin with 3D gun, everything that they said was going to happen with the gun, it's going to be used by terrorism, it's going to be used for terrorists, for nefarious activities, all that stuff were the exact same arguments that people have made against Bitcoin.
Yeah, this is the same argument everybody makes against any type of controversial speech. Oh no, somebody can do something bad with it, or it can help someone defeat one of our laws, or, well, I'm sorry, but this is why speech is protected, because some of it is actually useful for things, and some of it can actually help you do things that might be bad. Okay, that's why it's protected. We don't protect useless speech or speech that has no functional component. It doesn't deserve protection. There's no controversy about saying happy birthday in this country. So that's what's always been said about anything that's controversial. And it'll be said about my stuff. It'll be said about Bitcoin. It'll be said about any particular piece of software, which ultimately provides a relief from state oppression and little tyrants. The song will always be the same.
Hey, so thanks, Sasha, for transitioning into Bitcoin, because I was going to go in that direction. So even in that video, you mentioned how you're working with Bitcoin.com, and they would double all donations, from what I understand. And well, the Bitcoin community is not very happy with Bitcoin.com right now. We've actually submitted a bunch of petitions to kind of try to, call that site, like a fake site, a misleading site, because they're all about Bitcoin Cash. They're trying to rebrand Bitcoin into Bitcoin Cash. So I got two Bitcoin related questions for you.
Sure.
One specifically, how do you feel about Bcash and the fact that they're being associated with you as they're trying to co-opt the brand? And the other one is this like, because Bitcoin is not really a company and Bitcoin is just a currency, and now this is all over the news, do you think that this could be a bit of a challenge for a lot of the Bitcoiners that may not support your effort, but now they're almost roped into it, or B, like Bitcoin can't defend itself because Bitcoin is not a company, and this could, look, I'm all for what you're doing, but I am also minded of all the people will have to explain this to, when they're like, well, Bitcoin, the company, is like supporting this effort that other people may not agree with. So what are your general thoughts on Bitcoin.com specifically, and how do you think this may or may not reflect on Bitcoin positively or negatively as an ecosystem?
Yeah. I'll answer those in reverse. So yeah, it's always my instinct to be I know that this confuses the press and people to be like, oh no, it looks like Bitcoin, the company, is supporting this endeavor. I like that. I'm sorry that you have to spend all that time now, correcting people, but that's how I proceed in my activism. Plenty of people have to spend lots of time correcting other people about what I do. When we raise all this money, I want to say that we did it in Bitcoin. It's not really important to me that, technically speaking, with an asterisk, 2/3 of it was funded by Bitcoin Cash or something. As far as I'm concerned, man, I got to get it funded. Now, I didn't open it up for like Monero or Zcash or, BTCC or something. I know I've known Ver for years. So a lot of that's based on our personal relationship. And then now to your point about, what about this controversy in the Bitcoin space? I'm connected with S&I. Like, I am a Bitcoin maximalist. That's my particular position, is that I believe original Bitcoin, BTC, is probably on the path to completely win. But I think reasonable people can disagree about whether Ver is being disingenuous or not, or whether he's quote unquote scamming people. I certainly understand some of the arguments, but from Ver's point of view, right, he's making a long play where he thinks BCH will win. He thinks it is Bitcoin. He literally believes that it is, and he does take some duty to distinguish, even though it doesn't satisfy some people's standards. He takes some duty to distinguish the difference between these two. But look, this is a controversy that I think the community should have, and if Roger Ver is successfully ostracized, then that's to some degree a kind of market justice. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I just know that I have to fund this stuff, and that you're all along on the ride with me, really, because if I lose, it's ultimately bad for your interests as well.
Well, I'm very happy you didn't ICO. Let's put it that way.
I've been offered many times over the years a chance to do like DD Coin or something, and look, I believe in crypto, but I mostly believe in, the one crypto to rule them all. And I'm not going to waste anyone's time on a scam or trying to get a bunch of money for something that I don't need. I see that little barrel there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just for clarification, everybody that's watching, this was printed on a WeDo M2 printer using PLA Pro filament, which absolutely 100% is not suitable to be used as a firearm. You can see that there was a support structure that was raised here for the forward sight. There was a printing mount plate I've just taken off, and that little support structure is there, and that's it. That's what I printed. So all of you that thought that I was printing some vicious beast of a gun, no, I printed basically a child's toy. But I printed a child's toy with publicly available STL documents downloaded, derived from the information that was published almost 5 years ago. And you could too, if you wanted to make a little pop gun. I don't even think a 22 LR would go through that, and if it did, it would probably blow it apart.
It would. Definitely would.
The fact of the matter is, and I'll just say this from an ease of use standpoint. I think about an hour ago, I located the files online, downloaded them to my computer, and in under an hour, printed a barrel with a sight on it. So that's kind of revolutionary when you think about access to information, the ability to do things, what technology does. And yeah, I mean, just so you know, Cody, I mean, if you need any help with anything, just let me know. I'm a big fan.
I just got a quick question. We have lots of audience people are asking. Now, I don't know if we want to answer this question. Let me start there. Lots of our live viewers are asking where they can download these files. I don't know if that is something we want to say on this channel. I don't want to say it. If anybody else wants to say it,
I will suggest that the easiest way for anybody to find anything that they want on the internet is to open up a search browser and let your fingers do the walking.
It's not very hard. It's not very hard to find the sites that are mirroring the files right now. So I'll say it that way. Just a casual perusal of the different news articles covering this case and these controversies right now will show you sites that are hosting the files at the moment. Thanks for the kind words, by the way. And it was cool to see you download the barrel. I'll note for people watching, that there was a scale issue with the barrel. We didn't quite set the right units and everything, but it is a good example of how quickly you can print something like a Liberator barrel.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And that's what's really being challenged here. It's not the nature of this gun so much as it is, look, if this stuff's online, in a certain sense, gun control is not possible. And this is why 20 states in the union are running to federal court, because they understand that this is the ball game. This is really the ball game. And, maybe they can get some judges to agree with them to some degree for a long time. And even if they do, even if they completely win out, we still know, just like with Bitcoin, this stuff doesn't stop being possible. But it would be nice. It would be nice to win.
Can I go ahead, Sasha?
Oh, I was just wondering, do you have a dead man switch or anything that can release the files if something does happen down the line?
Wow.
I'm not going to confirm.
Wow, that's pretty morbid, Sasha.
No, but I got something really cool.
What are you suggesting, that one of Hillary Clinton's assassins is going to take him? I'm sorry. Say that?
I got something probably better than that. He doesn't have to go that dire. I can continue to be alive. So a live man switch, and I'll flip it tomorrow. How about that?
Yeah, Cody. Tone raised some really interesting things about Bitcoin, right? So we're all out here trying to convince the world and the skeptics and the lawmakers and the judges that crypto is not a bad thing, right? Yeah. So, what do you think that this does when you're tying your Second Amendment push with Bitcoin? I mean, what does it do to the narrative, and what does how do you control that, and how do you, because a narrative is an important thing.
I agree. I'm kind of an OG Bitcoiner at this point, right? I got in the game when it was only Silk Road and illicit stuff, and I continue to prefer some of that messaging and the spirit of that. Just to remind people that what's our project here? Our project it does intend to be ultimately revolutionary and to include, a promise of radical privacy and radical fungibility and the funding of things which are today considered to be, forbidden. There's like a liberative potential to Bitcoin as a currency or a mode of wealth. So I'll always represent that message. Now I don't want to give you a hard time, right? But I'm really interested in always being that part of that conversation. So hopefully it makes the good lawyers in this space sharp and not feel the need to give anything up. Because I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing. You have to recognize that what you're fighting for includes what I do. Maybe that makes you change your opinion about the space, but we have to announce who we are and remind people that we're still here.
So you're basically saying it all falls under the umbrella of liberty, right? And
for sure.
And so, there's really no conflict. And listen, I'm highly supportive of it. One of the things that's really, really crazy nowadays is, having to self-censor your opinions. When we have, we all have probably things we think about that we don't think it's comfortable to say because the world is out there, the Twitterverse and the, people being doxxed, and not that I don't put my name out there, but, it's just a really, I commend what you're doing because, liberty is something that I've always thought would be a historical anomaly. Because I've always looked at the world as power and information is continuing to accumulate and let fewer and fewer hands. So anything that we can do that fights back against that, I think, is a really powerful and necessary thing you're doing. So keep it up.
Well, thank you. I share your view of history. I think liberty has been pretty rare and only just effervescent or something, and periods of just long stretches of tyranny and stuff. I take that position. I think many liberals do as well. And even if we proceed to like a legal situation where everything's monitored and controlled, we at least understand that there will be factional, zones of relative freedom. Like Bitcoin's always going to persist, even in the countries where it's illegal, like Venezuela, right? People are holding on in Venezuela because of Bitcoin. And look, I don't mean to approximate the 3D printed guns, which are admittedly absurd, but there's an element of that in our project as well. It's a signal that people will, to some degree, always have the right to keep and bear arms, or at least the DNA for that type of activity. And I think that's something worth fighting for, and I'll continue to do it.
Hey, it's Manny again. How far are you willing to take this? I think you alluded to it earlier. I mean, are you willing to just continue to fight to the Supreme Court? Like, what's your end game in this right now?
Oh, look, I've been to the Supreme Court before on this, right? I've been at this for years. At this point, I'm not really good at anything else. So why would I stop? It's and I know it might not look good right now. I got all these states and they're getting orders and stuff and they're winning, but frankly, like they all lose at the end of this one. I've got a license from the feds. I've got DOJ arguing on my side in court. Like this doesn't get better for them. This only gets worse, and that's to, the great magnification and glory of our project. The more this is fought and the more publicly it's fought, the more the information is spread, the more people decide that they want it. I'd be nothing if I wasn't constantly frustrated by state governments. You wouldn't know my name.
And it's kind of like one of those situations where people can't decide. I mean, when I first heard about it, I'll be honest, I didn't think it's necessarily a good thing to put these guns out in the hands of anyone that could have mental challenges or, be crazy and be, there's certain times when certain people might not be supposed to have guns if they're felons and they've done a lot of harm. But when I had to think about it, it's like, well, if we block having guns out there, then what's next? And what's next after that? And what's next after that? And if we don't talk about it, then it's something that, no light will come to it. Like through conversation, you get to the right answer. And if it's just no speech is out there, then it's, not a good place to live at all. So I appreciate what you're doing just to help me, further my understanding of the free speech argument.
Well, I think look, I both regret and I'm relieved to hear you say that. Like I often have doubts too about some elements of what we do. I know that like anything worth pursuing like this though has its kind of dangerous element. That's just how it is. Like it can be abused, bad things can happen. Sometimes I try to relieve people and let them know that like, look, we don't pursue it because we think bad things will happen. Like we pursue it because to allow our enemy to have control over it would be intolerable.
Mm-hmm. But When you say enemy, you mean the government?
Yeah, I mean the state and the federal government, the state governments, city
Because
governments.
what if we're putting it in the hands of enemies in like other parts of the world
I,
that could use it
no,
against?
I don't accept those designations, right?
Yeah, and
I'm
when I thought about it too, I was like, well, anyone can do any kind of damage with a car or any other instrument. If someone wants to do harm, they're going to
yeah.
do harm. So it doesn't matter whether they print this off the internet or not. If that's their intent, they're going to find a way.
I think you're right, and I should limit my comments further. But I think, yeah, of course, I think you're right.
So Cody,
go ahead. I was gonna say, Cody, I don't know how much more time we have for you, so Bill,
Yeah.
we'll let you jump in,
Like,
and then maybe if David Silver, who just joined us, has like a question for Cody, we'll get one more answered, and we can let you go. Hey, you can see what I've ran these things for 6 hours long, right? If the conversation is good, our live viewers will love it.
Cody, how does this intersect with all of this, these First Amendment issues that we're seeing in the news, right? Where very large information providers can essentially take people's speech and put it into the dustbin. Are you concerned with the fact that even though this information may be out there, maybe Google or other information providers are going to make it so that you really can't find it?
I think you must have seen then some of the news about this, because it intersects very neatly with this question about big tech. Facebook won't allow you to share links to the files to where you could access this information. I was just kicked off a large e-commerce platform, Shopify, because of this. Amazon recently removed a book of the code that someone published. Just removed it. Didn't really cite a reason why. Of course, it's legal to have the code. It's legal to publish the code, right? Like these tech companies by themselves, independent of decisions of the judiciary and the Congress, will just choose to kind of memory hold this stuff. And this isn't theoretical. I've made basically all the big ones do it already. I haven't been able to advertise or promote myself on Google or Facebook in many years. So sure, like all this stuff will be very marginal activity. But at the same time, if you're looking for 3D printed gun files on Facebook, maybe you're one of those people that shouldn't have them anyway.
David, you wanna ask Cody anything, or you're here for the securities discussion, which we'll eventually get to?
I mean, I think I'm gonna take a little pass on this. All I know about Cody is he's for the printing of the 3D guns. I'm a pro-regulation guy, and my pro-regulation continues into regulating all things guns.
Yeah.
I live in Parkland, Florida, and I am pro-regulation, whether it be securities, guns, doesn't really matter. So I didn't hear you guys talk earlier. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I think these things need to be voted on, and all we need is people to show up and vote, and the people who vote the most deserve to get their say.
Yeah, cool. That sounds a lot like an opinion for someone who didn't have one to share. But anyway, I feel like what's fun about David's position is it doesn't matter how much he votes or how much Bill Nelson or anybody else has anything to say about it. You can still download that shit just like Jason did today and print it out, and then we can show, like Jason, you can show David the barrel that you printed.
Oh yeah. So David, what I did is downloaded one of the STL files and scaled it to basically make a kid's toy.
There you go, David. Have a good night. So anyway, guys, I think I gotta go. I think I gotta talk to my lawyers and everything. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm gonna make your politicians break your internet, and then even David in the end will say, "Oh, it's too much. They've broken the internet," and that'll be my fault. And you're all welcome.
Yeah, hey, thanks for coming on, Cody. And hey, you just met 5 more lawyers in case in case you
a joy.
Well, maybe 4. Maybe 4. I don't think David will take you on, but but then again, if you get enough Bitcoin donations, he probably will.
Everyone's got their price. All right, guys, I'll see you later.
Thanks.
Hey, Cody, I just put in the chat list. Oh, I think he's already gone.
No, I'm here. What's up?
Oh, great. I just sent you my email through the Zoom webinar chat.
Word. Nice to meet you guys.
Reach out, man. We'll talk to you soon. Be well. Good luck.
Thanks, man. All right, guys. Any final thoughts on this whole 3D gun thing now that Cody maybe answered some of your questions? And then we'll move on to our other topic, for the day, which is, security tokens.
So I think the main thing that we have driving this, the discussion, I think, is probably maybe slow news cycle or fear or whatever it is, right? You get somebody who watches a news show and they go, oh my God, they're going to put a gun, they're going to get it through security, and we're going to have 9/11 all over again because reasons, right? The world before 9/11 was a pretty great world. We didn't walk around living in fear about what might happen all the time. Today, I don't think we live in that world anymore. So, I mean, I get it. I understand the fear and the risk mitigation. We're lawyers. We understand mitigating risk. But to regulate something out of existence or to try to keep something from existing at the expense of speech is probably not okay. One of my favorite free speech cases, of course, is State v. Cohen. One man's vulgarity is another's lyric. You combine that with the Second Amendment principles here, and I think this is fuck the draft, right? That was State v. Cohen. Guy walks into the courthouse with fuck the draft written on his back. He was publishing things that people thought were obscene, and the Supreme Court held that was 100% protected speech, political protected speech, the most protected that we have. Just because somebody thought it was bad doesn't mean that somebody doesn't think it's beautiful. Being able to print this for a lot of people in the United States, which may be vulgar for some people, is a beautiful lyric for another. And so that's why I think it's okay to at the very least, you may not agree with it, but you can agree with the free speech component and the constitutional protection component of it as lawyers. Now, if somebody passes a law or somebody passes some sort of regulation that somehow says, this has been baking my fucking noodle all day today, how a state is going to preempt federal law, right? Supremacy clause here, right? Preemption. States are trying to do it the reverse. And I'm not smart enough, I guess, as a lawyer to understand how the states are trying to flip the tables on that. So maybe one of you guys, it's definitely smarter than I am, can tell me how suddenly supremacy clause and preemption got flipped around. Anyone?
Well, before they do that, I just want to jump in, because I fly a lot from conference to conference. And if people are worried that these things are going to go through security, the security, the scanner machine, first of all, there is metal in it. That's one. Second of all, your scanning machine should be able to recognize if there's something in your bag that looks like a gun. For example,
I'll tell you what, let me show you something.
Oh, Jay. Basically, you see that this is an H4n Zoom microphone.
Yeah.
I can't, not once have I gotten through airport security without this thing. I even take it out of my bag now, right? If I leave it in my bag, my whole bag gets searched. I take it out of my bag. I put it in a bin next to my laptop. That bin gets always set aside. And I have two people looking at this thing, and I have to explain to them that it's a microphone.
You ready? You ready for this? What's that look like to you? This has been pulled out of my bag, right? Because I used to do the mobile shows for the Not Your Lawyer show, right? And this is a great little CAD microphone, right? I love it. It's USB. I plug it in my laptop. But that sumbitch right there gets pulled out of my bag every time I try. Sir, do you have a weapon in your bag? No, it's a microphone, man. So we're gonna need to open your bag.
Right. But look, I know you can take that apart.
Come on.
I have a feeling you leave it this way on purpose. I know you can take it apart.
Look, I'm just saying I do like to troll, but even if I did, take the microphone off, the thing that doesn't come apart is still the thing that looks like a handle in a barrel, right? I mean, just leaving the microphone on,
right?
Control.
Yeah, but come on, guys. I mean, I'm teetering on 100,000 miles flying,
and that's even better, right? I mean, isn't that Han Solo's blaster?
Jason should be stopped for carrying that. Your thing looks like something out of Star Trek, for crying out loud. It looks like when the guys get off on Star Trek, like it's futuristic. Look, I don't disagree with the guy's right to say anything he wants, to print anything he wants is legal. But yeah, I mean, look, modern technology is changing. We got to do something. No, I don't want people to be able to carry guns onto planes. I kind of agree with what Tone's saying. So far, we're fortunate where it does seem scanners can pick it up. But look, I don't want to go to the airport. I'm flying to San Francisco tomorrow. I'd like to make it there and home without any issues. So you've got to have anyone who can't understand why this might be a problem is missing the point of,
No. Everybody knows why it might be a problem, okay? But that's why we have to take our fucking shoes off at the airport now, David.
Yes.
It's because one guy showed up with fucking plastic explosives in his shoes.
Yes.
Right? So now I have to be like barefoot walking around with other people, subjected to fucking athlete's foot walking around the goddamn airport.
No, see, I gave up my civil rights. I now do TSA pre-check. I do clear. I've given over my rights. The government looks at me like an open book. I've surrendered my rights of privacy, which is what drives a lot of people in this.
For convenience, right? I have not done that yet, but I still have to stand on a general line as much as I fly, and I still got to get my, my body grabbed because I don't do those damn machines, man. That's what I got to deal with every time I fly, which is like 50 times a year.
Tone, we all know why you want to have your body grabbed.
Yes, I want to get my doctor's.
Keep it clean.
Every time I fly through the airport, that's exactly what I'm looking forward to.
I think what's so interesting about this, is really clearly First Amendment and Second Amendment, but fundamentally we're talking about regulation, and that's how this ties into Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and the entire suite of potential topics that we're talking about is, how do you effectively regulate, and how do you actually, go from potentially banning something, so you have either no regulation at all, or you have a complete ban. And I think we're realizing that those are opposite extremes of the spectrum, and we need to be somewhere in the middle. And I think the problem is determining where that dial should be placed. That's a conundrum. That's an extreme conundrum, and it's complex. It's a complex problem.
Yeah, guys. Let's jump on to our second topic. If you guys like this show and you would like to keep supporting this show, please check out the affiliate section of tonebase.com. And if you have a need for any of these products or services, including doing your Amazon shopping, please click on these links first and go through the affiliate programs. And that's one way you can support without actually having to pay me anything at any point. So there you go. All right. That's it. We're down to 3. Oh man, like my phone's been blowing up this whole time. I can't pay attention to actual, useful advice through the show and pay attention to everyone that's texting me at the same time. So it's the best I can do. Unfortunately,
thanks, Tone, you did great.
Thank you.
We'll hopefully be on later.
Yeah, no. But listen, those are really good security discussions on like what is and isn't security based on how it's being promoted and how it's being shilled. So that's I know I'm learning a lot, maybe a little too much. Like Adela said, I take it too far. But yes, thank you very much, guys. And we will try to get Bruce Fenton on the next one along with other guests.
All right. Be well, Tone. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Bitcoin Law Review. Bye, guys.